In this video, we're going to take a look at how to build out a custom data model in CloudBees CD. So out of the box, we have different data types that are associated with objects like application deployments, releases, continuous integration builds, all the things that are native to the platform. But oftentimes you're going to want to integrate with some third-party tool, and you need to be able to extend the data model. So I'll warn you now that this is an advanced topic. So if you're just getting started, you may want to hold off. If you just want to learn about analytics, check out the previous video we did on using analytics in CloudBees CD. But in this one, we're going to dive into fully customizing how all of this works. So here I've got a brand new CloudBees CD instance. So totally empty, no data. But if you go to one of these dashboards, we see that there are these different widgets associated with it. So go to application deployments. Again, there's no data yet. But if we go to the dashboard editor, each of these charts, if I go to the widget definition, we can see that it's associated with some report. And if we go check this out, if we go to Analytics Reports, and if we remove the filter, go to any of these, like average build duration, we can see this is associated with, in this case, the build report. But if I choose this, we can see that out of the box, there are these 12 different report object types. These are associated with just different objects in the system. And if you have some plugins installed, you might have some additional ones that are configured to support those plugins. Now, how do you create one of those? Well, if you go to the DSL IDE, you just type in DSL or go to DevOps Essentials, we'll have the DSL IDE. And what you can do is type out report object type. And one little thing about this DSL IDE, if you hit Control H for help, a little help menu will pop up. And this will show you all of the sorts of fields that are required or optional, as well as what types of objects can live within them. Let me go over here, and here's an example that I've created here. So I want to create a custom data type for GitHub issues. I want to set up a collector that'll periodically scan a GitHub repo and pull the issues and load it into CD. So here you can see I've got the reporting object type. The name is going to be GitHub GH_issues. Got the display name of GitHub issues. And then inside of this reporting object type, we can see we have all these different attributes. And this is essentially the fields in that table that we're creating. So we've got URL, repository URL, ID, number, title, etc. And each of these you'll see has a type. So a string, a number, a Boolean. And so let's just go ahead and copy this. And we'll paste this into the DSL IDE. We did not have this GitHub issues object type before. Now we do. And one thing to note is this is idempotent. So if I was to change this to, let's say, add another field, I could just paste this and say, I want this to have name, if I don't have that. And if I ran this, it would apply, except I don't want name, so we'll leave it as is. Now, if we go back to the analytics, go to reports, and let's filter this down just to default, so that way we're not seeing all the extra stuff. Create a new one, and I can call this GitHub issues. I'll put this in the default project, and here we go. I can select a report type. So there we go. We can see the GitHub issues is now selected, or it's now an option. And here with the reports, we can select essentially how it's going to query the data. In this case, it must have a title. If it doesn't have a title, don't show it. We could also do some aggregations. We could sort. We'll just leave it as is. And we'll go ahead and save. Now, if I was to go to the tabular preview, we don't actually have any data yet, which makes sense because we just created it. But now we actually have everything we need to create a new dashboard. So we could start plugging this in. But first, I think it's going to be useful if we actually create some data here. So how do we do this? Well, there's a great flexibility of options here. We can use an API call. We can use EC tool. We can use the DSL. If we actually go back to the DSL IDE, if we type in send, and one little trick here is if you hit control space, you see what options there are for an autocomplete. So send reporting data. And if we do, again, the control H for help, we can send it a JSON payload. We can tell it what the object type name is. And we can tell it if we want to validate whether or not this is an appropriate payload. So we could send it in directly here. However, that's probably not going to be what you're going to want to do since that's a little bit funky. So how do we want to do this? Well, a common approach is to create a data collector. So we can do this by going to Procedures, under DevOps Essentials, Procedures. And we'll create a data collector procedure. So I'm going to call this collect GitHub issues. Puts this in the default project. So before I create the step, one thing I want to do is set up a parameter. So every time we run this, we're going to tell it specifically which GitHub repo to pull from. So if I go to the action menu and I go down to parameters, add a new parameter, and I'll call this GitHub repo. And we can add a label of GitHub repo. I'm going to set a default value to containerd. That's a popular project, so we know that there will be plenty of issues to pull from. So now we can access this GitHub repo parameter as part of our script. So let's add the step. Let's call this collect issues. We'll go to the definition here. In this case, I know that there's particularly this case agent that I want to run this on because it is a tool that I want to use. Let's go back. I've got this script that we'll pull, this data collector.sh, and I'll expand this and just paste it in. Let me make a slight modification here. So effectively what I've got is a bash script that in this case is just making a curl call over to GitHub, to their API. I'm grabbing the date from 1 day ago. That's just specifically the way that GitHub uses it. It wants this particular date format. So I'm making the query. I'm going to be getting that. Then I'm going to be using this tool JQ to then extract the appropriate fields that I want. In this case, this is the one matching all of those individual fields that we had in the data model. If there aren't any issues, then we'll just skip. Otherwise, we'll loop through each issue, and then we're going to send the reporting data using EC_tool. Could also use an API call, but since we're already on the system, it's easy enough to just use EC_tool. We're passing in the object type. In this case, it's that GitHub_issues that we created, and then we're going to pass in the payload. So go ahead and hit OK, and this should be good to run. So let's go ahead and give this a run. New run. We can use that containerd. That's fine. And now it's running. So if I go to the logs, we should see, okay, here's all the different issues that it's pulling. And we get all the titles. It looks great. So if I close out of here, if I refresh, we should have this task complete successfully. Excellent. That's good. So now if I go back to the reports, GitHub issues, and tabular preview, now we can see all the data is actually fulfilled here. So we've got things like the labels to choose from if it's locked, what the ID numbers are, all of this. So it's looking great. Now, what can we do with this? Well, we can go to our dashboards, add analytics dashboard, create a new one, create one for GitHub issues. This in the default project again. And here you can see it's just a totally empty dashboard. So we'll need to add some widgets. So click new widget, create new, and let's just do issue types. So we'll add this, we'll define it. Go to definition, issue types, go to default, choose GitHub issues, and then we get to choose the visualization type. So we can choose do a horizontal bar chart. We could do the x-axis will be the number. No, we want the total count. And the y-axis will be the labels. So let's see how it looks. Except what we'll notice here is this is just showing us the total count for everything, right? We've just got 15 issues from the past day. So that's not super useful, is it? So what we want to do now is go back to reports, GitHub issues. And what we could do is aggregate. So add an aggregation by label, and let's save it. So now if we tabular preview, now we can see specifically based on the label, how many of each there is. So pretty useful, except you might have noticed there's an issue here. Now we can't reuse this for other things, right? And we've called this GitHub issues. So really what you want to do is come down here. We can rename this. We can call this GitHub issue labels. And then we can create another one. So we can create just one for all the issues if we want to list them. Once again, we can choose the GitHub issues. We can choose this must exist. Otherwise we don't want it. Save it. And if we go back to our dashboard, GitHub issues, we can update this. First of all, we want to change this widget definition. It's being targeted GitHub issue labels. So that actually followed as we changed it. However, we want to modify this. So instead of the total count, it's the labels count. So I modify that. And there we go. OK to test is just 1. Needs OK to test is 5. So now we can see very easily where we're waiting at for these different issue types. If we want, we can go and add this second widget. So this is just going to be the list, right? So we've got issues, define, definition, issues, default, GitHub issues, and we've just got this table option. So we can choose the different columns that we want to highlight. So I want the title to be the first thing. Add a column. Let's do the number, and we'll add the label. Okay, now if we hit OK, we'll save it, and we can view it, and we can see our issues. So you have full flexibility to add, again, whatever types of widgets you want. Come back in here and say, you know what, I don't like that. And I could change this out and say that instead, I just want to see a metric that shows the total count. And you can make some modifications here. I just want to see the number. I don't care about any of this other stuff. We can see that we've got 15 issues. And of course, you could even filter down and you could say, I only want to see the count of the issues that are in the needs OK to test by filtering the report. So as you can see, this is a fairly simple way to get started. Now there's one key element here though that you'll notice is missing. You know, we did this one-off scan, but what is going to actually update our data? Well, if we go back to the DevOps Essentials, go to Procedures, and we go to our Collect GitHub Issues. Now, if we go to the Action menu up here, you'll notice we've got this Schedules option. So what we can do is add a periodic schedule. So we can say Git containerd issues, set the default, and we'll set it to happen daily. And we can do a repeat run. We'll have it happen. We'll just do it once a day. All right. Yeah, we'll do run once, and we'll do it at, let's just say, first thing in the morning, right? And if we're antsy, we can tell it run now and then go for the next one, or just wait until the next time. So we can set this up, and here I can add in the parameters. So containerd, and there we go. But here's the beauty. I can actually add another one, and I can add this to a personal repo. And now I'll be collecting data from 2 different GitHub repos. This is very powerful because this means that you're not limited to what comes out of the box with our tool. We have many great plugins that'll help you do all of this with given tool sets, but there's a good chance that you're going to have either internally developed tools that, of course, don't have any plugins, or just tools that aren't as popular and don't have support for them. And so you can build out your own custom collectors, and you can just build this out super easily. Again, if we go back to our collect issues, if we just look at what it's doing. So here we're collecting the data using the API call. In this block here, we're effectively filtering it. So we're just grabbing the results that we care about. And then here, we're sending the data to the system. It doesn't matter how you do this. Maybe you don't like curl, you want to use something else. You could use a CLI. You could use the GitHub CLI in this case to do this exact same thing. Maybe you don't like JQ. You want to write a custom script that does the filtering. Or you want to use the API instead of using EC2. Now you can customize this however you want. But effectively, these 3 steps are all that you need to have in order to build out this custom data collector. I hope this has been helpful. I'll share some documentation links down below to help you get started. If you're not already using CloudBees CD and are interested, please check us out at cloudbees.com to find out more.